Hare Krishna, boys and girls, mothers of all ages. We bring you the protaga, subterfugeous future of professional wrestling and lucha libre. We lock up, I blow up, we go home. How is everybody doing? This is episode number 41 of Slammin' Stan. I am Vandal Drummond, and this is Fredo Esparza joining us. How are you doing tonight, Alfredo?
I'm doing pretty good.
That was really a wicked cover of the Monsters theme. Where did you find that?
The Cubs fan sent that in.
Wicked cool.
He sent a link to it, and he said we should use it for our Halloween show, but I don't know if we're going to have a Halloween show.
Yeah, will we? The date is the 14th, so, well, we might scratch in a Halloween show. I mean, it's a very good month to bring up a lot of gimmicks, whether it's
around.
I'm sorry?
We might not be around. We might actually be like at Lucha Va Voom or...
That is true. I totally forgot about that. Yes, Lucha Va Voom is around the corner at the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles. I believe it's October 28th and 29th it's there, right?
I don't know.
Well, we're going to make one of those shows anyways. I have yet to drink in a Lucha Va Voom show, and I've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm really looking forward to this.
All I know is it's during a weekday, so I was like, okay, it's back-to-back on weekdays. So,
which is kind of a funky thing about Lucha Va Voom. I guess it's no skin off their teeth doing weekday shows because, as I understand, they rarely have trouble drawing.
Yeah, you know, it's a good thing. During the week, I mean, it makes more sense for Lucha, considering everybody runs like on a weekend, you know, Sunday, and they're not going to be able to get all the local guys.
Well, in fact, when we got together and were hanging with a bunch of the LA Luchadores and other indie pro wrestlers in the area, you know, just the subject of shows that weekend came up, and there is so much indie pro wrestling being promoted in Southern California. It's, I mean, it's wild. And I mean, what's wild about it is there are so many shows being promoted, and so many of them nobody knows anything about, other than who's promoting them, and maybe, you know, maybe that doesn't matter if they're promoting them in areas where there's a lot of good publicity in the neighborhood. You know, basically, I guess that's the main important thing is how many people are paying to see your show. Yeah. There were shows I didn't know about that are taking place in Newhall and Fillmore and Rialto. I mean, even cruising online a bit, I don't see much publicity surrounding.
I mean, all those lucha promotions, you never see them mentioned online that often. And you know, there's like
this is true.
There's 4 or 5 guys promoting lucha just within the LA area, like.
Yeah. We met Supernatural, who is running shows. He was the one who was talking about a show in Rialto. Kayam and Enigma de Oro, I don't know if they're actually running the shows or if they're booking, but Sunday shows in South LA. And, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me because I remember when I first started, working to become a professional wrestler. This was in 1983, which is when I had my first match. You had to look high and low to find a show, and then you had to convince somebody to book you. I mean, I'm almost certain the main reason is back then, if you booked a wrestling show, you had to go through the State Athletic Commission.
You had to get, like, insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah, you had to get insurance, which is wise to do even in this day and age with the commission null and void as far as wrestling goes. You had to have a doctor present. You had to, there were just a ton of costs when it came to promoting. The first promoter I worked for was Carl Lauer, who at the time had Pistol Pete as his booker. And he was just promoting small indie shows, and they had to jump through a lot of hoops to run these babies. Then Hatco Plaza was probably the most successful of the indie promotions, and I say successful only because they started sometime in the 1970s the earliest I can remember seeing newspaper advertisements was in 1977. I think they began running earlier. But Hadco Plaza stayed alive up until around 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Sundays. Every Sunday there was Lucha Libre at Hadco Plaza. They drew anywhere from, a bad crowd was 100 people.
That's a good crowd now.
Yeah, that is a good crowd now. And these people, a good crowd there was like 500 people. But it was enough to sustain the promotion. They ran regularly for, probably almost 10 years. And that entire time, they were under the thumb of the Athletic Commission. And I have heard, I don't know this for a fact, but when the LaBelle promotion was in charge, there's a number of people claim that if you were an indie promotion, even if you were no threat, that, sometimes the commission would be harder on you, kind of lean on you a bit for every little violation, you might commit. I think there was a while where wrestlers were not allowed to fight outside the ring, and if it happened on the LaBelle promotion, no attention was paid to it. If it happened on an indie show, rumor is that they would get beamed for it, suspended or fined. But it's just weird. It's a whole different world in Southern California for professional wrestling. It's been over 20 years since the commission lost control over professional wrestling. And, it's hard to say how productive they were actually as far as, taking care of, or policing professional wrestling.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I remember getting my physical from Dr. Bernhard Schwartz, who was the famed...
That sounds like a made-up.
You already know the name. I already hear you chuckling.
It sounds like a name you made up out of the blue, like, hey, Dr. Bernhard Schwartz.
Oh, it does. The first time I ever heard of him is every week when I watched wrestling on TV, they said ringside physician is Dr. Bernhard Schwartz.
Uh-huh.
They would say the same thing on the weekly live boxing show on Thursday nights on Channel 13. And, as a little kid thinking, wow, he's the commissioner, he's the doctor for the commission for both wrestling and boxing. Man, this guy must be something. And then in 1983, he gave me my physical exam, which consisted of me walking into the dressing room with a room full of other wrestlers. He had a smock on that looked like it could use a little run in the laundry.
Uh-huh.
And he took my blood pressure. He didn't even look to see what my blood pressure read. He just squeezed that little bulbous ball, and I looked down, and he already had my blood pressure filled out on the sheet. The only statistics that weren't put down on my, on my sheet there was my height, my weight, my name. Everything else he had filled out.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was something tricky going on. Going on back then.
Yeah, the commission, I did hear that the commission did take care of wrestlers, like if a promoter tried to run a show and it got canceled. I hear that they did, go to lengths to make certain that the wrestlers got paid at least a minimum for showing up to a show that didn't, come off.
Uh-huh.
Which is different from today, Now you show up, you do wrestle, and you still don't get paid.
Where the guy just disappears on you all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The promoter's like, hey, where's the promoter? He's gone already. He's at home now, watching TV or doing whatever you have to do. Hiding.
Yeah, and I know this wasn't the only state where they would hold the promoter liable, financially, had them put a, what's the word I'm looking for? Man, I am having trouble with my mental word search tonight. I haven't been drinking anything but coffee or tea, and but the promoter had to put money down just as a guarantee in case the show didn't go off. And I know that happened in any WWF-sponsored shows when Vince Sr. was running back east. I had talked to several people who would do shows, and if they wanted to promote under the WWF logo, I think the way it generally worked is the main event and co-main event would be WWF wrestlers, and the opening bats would be local wrestlers, the people like Johnny Rodz, Frankie Williams.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, one of the first things they do is they had to, put down a minimum to, make certain that, everybody got paid in case the show didn't go off.
Oh, maybe that's the good thing from having a commission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some arguments. The arguments for having a commission was, some ways you get taken care of. Yeah. The negatives were, it did seem like there was some nepotism going on, and if there's any, if I've never actually thought of actually researching it. I'd love to know if anybody ever listening out there who is old as I am or older had any experiences with athletic commissions. Would love to hear from them, whether you phone in or you send me an email at Liger, Lyger, at AOL.com. One of the things, when I think about nepotism, I think it was around 1980 or 81 where Eileen Eaton was on the board of the Athletic Commission, which right away is conflict of interest because she was, Mike and Jean LaBelle's mother. And Michael Bell, promoting, and your mom's on the board of the Athletic Commission. I mean,
sounds like the Mexican commissions, all the Boxy Lucha commissions with all
I guess.
Like Phantasma's on it, and all these other guys are on it, and it's like, okay,
this is true. This is true. I bet you could really go to town on, commissions in general.
Yeah. Hey, that's the one bad thing about it. So there's definitely two sides to the commission.
This is true. A lot of pros, a lot of cons.
Yeah. So, Kurt, what finishing move are you gonna trademark? You haven't decided?
Well, I don't think Cavernario Galindo's family has trademarked La Cavernaria, so I'm gonna just show the greatest sign of disrespect and steal one of my hero's moves and use it for my own. Trademark it. Caveman Wellington will slap La Cavernaria on his unfortunate opponents. And I guess this perfectly segues into somebody wanting to trademark a certain move.
Also, are you considered a wrestler or a dancer? Do you consider yourself a wrestler or a dancer?
Well, I want to consider myself a wrestler because if I'm a wrestler, definitely not the greatest wrestler who ever lived, but I'm passable.
Uh-huh.
Now, as a dancer, the reason I rarely dance in public is because people, will take one look at me and they call the paramedics saying, some poor guy's having an epileptic seizure. Get help quick.
That whole thing with Hijo del Santo and AAA is ridiculous.
Now, what is the story? As I understand, he wants to patent the hold that's been used forever.
That's the thing. It's AAA is the one that's coming out with all those stories. So it's kind of like they're trying to figure out if it's true or not true. So so this could be a planted story. Now, the story out there is that Hijo del Santo wants to trademark the move that his father made famous, but actually, if I recall, was actually invented by Gory Guerrero. Yeah. And then there's so many people that have used it. It's like, okay, now that's getting...
Yeah, exactly. Well, in this country, it's better known as the camel clutch. In Mexico, am I remembering correctly, it's le da a caballo?
Yeah, la de caballo.
La de a caballo.
Yeah.
See, grammatically, I didn't get it right, but I got the idea.
Yeah, you were close. The thing that was funny was AAA, they jumped on him because he trademarked it under, I guess, what they're saying. I don't know if he did it, but what they're saying is that he trademarked it under entertainment and dancing trademark.
Dancing trademark.
Yeah, so, but I'm not sure if wrestling, I don't think there's like a thing specifically just for wrestling, you know what I mean? I think it has to be under entertainment.
I love that. I just love it being even conceived as a dance move. I would love to go to a wedding where the couple goes out and has their first dance, and it's La de a Caballo.
The first wrestler to jump on and jump on him on Twitter, you know who the first person was?
Conan?
No. Sexy Star.
Who's that?
Sexy Star.
Oh, no, really?
Yes. It's like she can't even wrestle. Her whole gimmick is dancing.
Oh, my Lord. Well, maybe she's jealous. Maybe she thought of patenting it as a dance move before he thought of patenting it as a wrestling move.
Well, I don't think, they were jumping more on the whole thing about him trademarking it as a dance move more than anything, more than actually him trying to trademark it. But, I mean, it just seems ridiculous. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not going to get it anyways. I mean, I don't know, unless the Boxy Lucha Commission is part of that, that's part of the, if it's going to be then that he has to deal with. But I think that's something higher than just Boxy Lucha Commission.
I was going to say, well, maybe tomorrow I'll call the California Athletic Commission and tell them, well, I know you don't have any hold over pro wrestling, but do you enforce any dance code violations these days?
We should just trademark every wrestling move. If
that would be bitchin'.
Does that, I'm going to trademark every wrestling move. I did that move. And I'll just find pictures of me when I was a kid, or just make I could shave my beard and just pretend I was younger, and just
Photoshop yourself into every move.
Yeah, and just there's ways of doing this. That's what I'm going to do, and
there you go. Or better yet, find photos of the Minis using the move and saying that was me 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, there you go. And you have pictures of you as a wrestler, so you could pretty much do all of them now.
There you go. Yes.
And you actually have wrestling. You have wrestling footage of yourself, so you could actually do it.
Yeah, we can say I thought of this long before anybody ever slapped these moves. In a previous lifetime, when I was just some grifter roaming through Mexico and the United States, I dreamed of all these wrestling moves. And when I was reincarnated, I was shocked to find everybody had stolen them.
That's going to get thrown out of court anyways. If they get to that point, I don't think that's a court thing. That's more just like they have to some sort of.
What a strange business.
Yeah.
I keep on thinking, what a strange business.
We got some callers, Kurt.
Who do we have?
But I always find it fascinating coming in on the conversation. I have no idea where it ends.
I think I know where your conversation is coming from, Dan Farren, from within an automobile. Am I correct?
It is. Actually, I will not be able to stay with you for the entire show this evening, but I'm coming in to do a run in 15 minutes because I have a gig somewhere that I'm on my way to and sitting in traffic.
Oh, very awesome. What is the gig you're doing tonight?
I wanted to make an appearance because I know that basically I'll catch shit if I don't, So.
Of course. You will be punished.
A private show. It's called which means it is basically for some hoi polloi high rollers at a house.
At a house?
At a house, yeah. It's like a little private show you do at a house, and then what you do is you go to the bathroom, and when they're not looking, you steal things from them. That's what you do.
Now, when I think of people going to a show at somebody's, to perform at somebody's house, my first question is this like a legal performance?
Oh, no,
I was thinking eyes wide shut.
This is stuff that's been done for years.
Yeah, I know it's been done for years, but my question remains, is it a legal performance?
Yes, it is. It's a very legal performance. Wait, is there cockfighting there? No, it's a legal performance. What do you think?
Well,
it just sounds
cockfighting.
Yeah, cockfighting can be taken many different ways.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're going to go ahead and copyright any wrestling moves Kurt's ever done, he's going to have to do some first. Before you can, because most
that is true.
Now is skipping around the ring. So yeah.
This is true. Well, I am the one who did do the salad shooter before anybody else.
Yes, exactly. And you notice nobody's flying off the handle to do that one. No one's really going out of their way to do that one.
Flying off the handle, Yeah.
Exactly.
Dan, you're not being nice. I'm pretty sure I have old issues of Lucha Libre Weekly where you give Vandal Drummond versus Physico Nuclear matches a legit 2.5 stars, as the term was back in the day.
That Kurt basically disagreed to. I would have gone a lot lower than I'm joking. They talk about WWF style. or the WWE style or whatever. Kurt has a style all of his own. And it's basically, you talk about most of the stuff he does are dance moves.
Oh, God. Well, I mentioned earlier, I don't do dance moves because usually paramedics are called if I tried to do any of those.
No, I did see Caveman Wellington body slam an enormous black man in a Harlem Globetrotters outfit on Friday night.
This is true. That was actually quite the feat. I felt like Connect slamming Andre the Giant. This guy was that much bigger than I was.
I know, because I saw you start depicting all of that. Oh, God, this is not going to end well. But you did.
And then the ref had to do a bump, and I got him up for the body slam, and the ref wasn't nearly close enough. I'm going, okay, how long can I hold this guy up in the air? I just thank God I didn't have to airplane spin him.
Yeah, I do want to get a plug-in for an MPW show before
definitely.
I'm leaving. We're going to go back to Senior Valley on November 13th, and we're having a one-night tournament to crown the MPW champion. And I'll talk a little bit as we get closer to it, but we have some really good people in this tournament. Guys like, brawlers like Bo Cooper and Billy Blade, but we also have TJ Perkins and Ryan Taylor and some of the younger guys like Mario Banks, and I think it's going to be a really good evening of wrestling.
Do you just mention Ryan Taylor?
Yes.
Ryan Taylor, anybody in the SoCal area listening, this guy is worth going to a show all by himself.
Yeah.
This guy is an amazing worker.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've seen him, I always try to make it a point to stop and watch him because this guy's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's not just because of his flawless wrestling moves and high spots. This guy can work a crowd who has no idea who he is. He can bring them up and bring them down. I mean, he has the lost art of the baby face going.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great match on Friday night at the benefit that we did for Vision, and also a couple of his other matches. He's had a match with Joey Ryan and an NWA title match with Adam Pearce, and I tell you, sometimes you wonder because he has kind of a style all of his own. He's taken a little bit of everything and works it into his wrestling. There's that initial thing where you go, well, the hardcore fans are going to like him, but I wonder what some of the casual fans are going to feel about it. They get right behind him. And he can basically win over any crowd in any situation. I expect there's be a lot of I expect a lot of good things for Ryan over the future, and I expect at some point for him to be signed by a large group and basically mishandled and devalued. I know
the messages,
Brian. That's nothing against Brian. That's just what happens these days.
That is the wrestling business.
I get the impression sometimes what the WWE and TNA want to do is they want to snap up all the independent wrestlers in the world and basically ruin them for any chance of succeeding in the future outside of the independent level.
That's true. I see people just scratching their heads, and I hear them saying, like, this is not a good business move by WWE. Why are they not letting this person shine? Did they ever think maybe somebody or some people in WWE just have an outright humiliation fetish? They just love to see people driven down?
Well, I think that they've talked a lot about this recently, that the WWE has this wonderful love-hate relationship with independent guys. They want to bring them in, and then they want to basically make them lose as much as possible to show the internet that this is the way it's going to be, that they make the decisions, And, it's like they're really shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to this because I saw a great Cornette the other day where he was saying that the reason why we're not building and getting a lot of newer wrestling stars is that the old ones don't want to get out of the way. And the old ones have to get out of the way, whether it's by retirement or injury or 90-day suspension or whatever. If they have to do that for these younger guys to get a chance. And I mean, I know the ego is hard for a lot of the guys who've been around, but now's the time. If to step away and we talked about this, Kurt. You and I, we've said, one of the reasons why I switched from refereeing to being the commissioner, besides the fact that I was older than everybody else around, so I looked like an authority figure, was basically because when I first started refereeing, there weren't a lot of guys that wanted to be referees. They all wanted to be wrestlers, and the only guys that were refereeing in Southern California were a couple old roller derby guys, referees, and a lot of the older Lucha Libre wrestlers. And then toward the end of the 90s, a lot of the younger guys wanted to be referees, and a lot of these guys like Patrick Hernandez and these guys came along. And I said, well, it's time for me to step aside and let these guys handle the matches. They're younger and they're quicker, and that's what you have to do. And it's a hard thing, but I guess depending upon what your ego is.
No, it's true. You do have to just let go. Well, I did getting in the ring occasionally, but I also realized, damn, I'm 48 and I wrestle like I'm 58, and it's going to be time to wind it up very soon, I think.
Kurt, that's an insult to all 58-year-old people everywhere. No. No, you know what? I tell you. You know what it is that you also have taken, your wrestling and said, what can I do now? What can't I do? We've talked about that over the years, and you're not going to be coming off the top rope and doing a lot of the stuff that you used to do because the spirit is willing but the body is weak. And,
exactly. And I have been very, very lucky, even though I never wrestled on a full-time basis. I've been very lucky to not have too many injuries. I can still go running, which I love to do, and I see people younger than me hurting really bad, and I freak out thinking, how are they going to feel in another 10 years? And, that's why I see some people, I almost want to ask the younger wrestlers on the indie scene, okay, are you doing this for a career or are you doing this, for kicks? Are you just here to play really hard? And I'm saying if you're not doing it for a career, economize those moves, be entertaining, look good, but remember, you might want to use your body for something in another 15, 20 years.
Well, look at Rey Mysterio Jr. I mean, he's in his mid-30s now or early 30s at this point, and there's not a lot of cartilage left in that body. Yeah,
he's accomplished a lot, and it's awesome to know he's saved his money, but, man, I get creeped out thinking how he's going to feel in a few years, especially after he has to hang it up.
Oh, Dynamite Kid was how old when he had his first retirement?
Oh, God.
He was, 28 or something?
Who's that?
Something like that. He wasn't 30. I know that.
Dynamite Kid. And he had his first retirement.
Yes, that's right. By the way, let's introduce the Bixie Demon, David Bixenspan.
Thank you.
We so rudely cut you off several times. Dan and I, in traditional Black Workman and Goliath fashion, double-teamed you big time verbally here.
Oh, I'm glad you added verbally in there.
Yeah, boy. Full name intro tonight. That's good.
Yes, the Bixie Demon and Dan Farren.
So I was verbally the Lucky Pierre.
That's right.
It's
the Lucky Pierre and the Gordon and the Goliath sandwich.
It's a lot better that it was verbal. Trust me. Yep. It's not too pretty. So.
Hey, Dan, are you getting paid for this comedy thing?
Am I getting what?
Are you getting paid?
Oh, of course.
Oh, you are?
That's the only reason I would blow this show off, yeah.
See, Fredo's so used to seeing you and me do wrestling gigs where...
For free.
For free.
Yeah, I'm so used to you guys not getting paid for anything. I'm surprised.
Well, remember we joked about that one time we were talking about we'd seen some guy throw a hissy fit and say, to somebody else, I've made more money in this business than you ever have. And I remember I turned to you and said I always wanted to say to somebody, oh, yeah, well, I've lost business than you ever will.
No, and, what's that? You got cut off on your...
Dad.
What?
You got cut off right when you delivered the punchline.
I said, oh yeah, well, money in this business than you ever have.
It happened again. Your phone went dead.
More money. I think he said, "Well, I've lost more money." Yes.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Well, I'm up in the canyon now, and I'm about to bail, guys.
Yeah, we can tell.
I'm getting out of here. So
okay,
I'll
you take care, Dan.
Time.
Thanks for calling in, amigo.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later, Dan.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, Bix, glad to have you on board here.
Glad to be here.
Well,
I'm still on, though.
By the way, speaking of Gordman and Goliath, I was so jazzed to be listening to the Brian and Vinny show yesterday, and when they were recapping a world-class wrestling show that was shown on 24/7, they reviewed a Black Gordman match.
You know when he was telling Dr. Lucha about it?
Yes.
I bet you when Dr. Lucha heard him say, Kurt Brown sent me an email, I think he probably expected it to be about like Titanes or Dr. Jerry Graham. when I was like, is that about what? And then all of a sudden he started talking about Black Gordman. Oh, okay.
I sent him a very enthusiastic email because one of the things I remember him saying in the match was early in the match, Gordman just yells to somebody in the crowd, "Mexican, shut up!"
Yeah.
And that was one of the calling cards of Gordman and Goliath. I mean, just still in my mind, the greatest tag team I have ever seen. I'm kind of surprised at how little wrestling Brian Alvarez has watched.
I'm not.
Well, one of the things
I'm just saying, like, it kind of seems like you would, like, I've known guys in tape trading who like had watched like thousands of like guys you wouldn't even know about, and all of a sudden he does like a newsletter and he's like an expert and everything. He hasn't watched Black Gordman wrestle.
Well, you know, that's the tricky thing is, I would love to find a lot of Black Gordman and Goliath tapes.
Well, you know,
I know there's.
I mean,
what's that?
It was world class, though. I mean, it's stuff.
Yeah,
like
this was past his prime. This was past his day.
That's common, though. World class is pretty common among online and.
Well,
YouTube.
yeah, no, that's true, but you also have to think that when that aired, I think he was still probably like about 12 or 13.
Yeah, but I mean, he started that newsletter when, like 90.
Brian's not that old.
Brian's what? I think he's 34.
Yeah, he's younger than I am.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, there's still a lot. I'm not surprised there's a lot he hasn't seen. I mean, because I think once he started doing the newsletter, he's probably watching a ton of present day stuff. Because I think when he's doing the newsletter, you know, tape trading was much in vogue. There was a lot of stuff to watch.
Yeah. He didn't even remember Rey Mysterio Jr. dropped his mask. Did you hear the show? He was talking about how I guess he was on a Matt Hardy YouTube video. And he was saying like Matt Hardy had the video on. I haven't seen the video, but I guess Matt Hardy had Rey Mysterio on without his mask, and he was just appalled at how he would have Rey Mysterio without his mask. I'm like, dude, everybody's already seen Rey Mysterio without a mask.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the funny thing is.
No. I think it's more that. I don't know if that's what he meant. I think it's more that, you know, they try to go out of their way in WWE to pretend that never happened.
Yeah, well, it shows short-term memory. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't remember that he lost his mask.
Oh.
I mean, no, I'm not talking about hardcore fans. I'm talking about a lot of casual fans who just say, "Oh, he lost his mask once? When?"
Well, you know, because I think a lot of people watch WWF more than they did WCW back then.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm not. Am I remember correctly? By the time Ray dropped his mask, was that when ratings started going in the toilet?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
It's starting to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also, you know, it's funny because I hear a lot of people talk about TNA. You know, where's it going? Yada yada. Speaking of in the toilet, but I know a lot of people, like where I work, who don't even know there is such thing as a TNA, and like, oh, whatever happened to that Kurt Angle guy? You know?
Yeah.
He's told stories, Angle, of being like in airports and meeting fans, and like, oh, so what have you been doing since you stopped wrestling?
Oh my God!
Mike
that must
used
hurt.
to talk about how he got the same thing. Like, oh, what have you been doing since WCW closed?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. You know, it's not surprising.
Well, like TNA, I can't even think of people who actually want to watch that show nowadays. Like, it's hardcore wrestling fans.
It's not even entertainingly bad.
Yeah, I mean, like WCW, at least like you would get that good opening match, and they wouldn't screw around with it. But then like everything else was so crappy that you just keep watching it because it was such a bad train wreck, you know. But like TNA, you just know they're trying to. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're just trying to make it as bad, you know, make it seem like it's worse than WCW.
Yeah, almost like it's a really bad art project that even people who enjoy kitschy bad art can't take it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like they can't even make it as bad where it's watchable, you know.
Right, exactly. Last time I tried watching it was I think 4 or 5 months ago, and I just don't have the patience. There's too much fun TV to watch.
the last time I tried watching it was when Homicide tried to get out of the cage.
Oh my God! Yes.
He got stuck or something, or he couldn't get out. It's like the stupidest looking cage I've ever seen, and I know I've seen it in AAA too. So
interesting. Well, you know, speaking of like bad things that are wonderful to watch, you know, as some of you may know, I wrestled on the MPW benefit show for the local wrestler known as Vision.
Kurt, don't put yourself down. Your match wasn't that bad.
Oh. Well, I want to say I teamed with Fanboy and wrestled Omar Slam Duncan and Whiskey Fist McIntosh. Whiskey Fist is one of...
Slam Duncan?
Oh, he's awesome. I had to body slam him, and he's much larger than I am.
In what large, in which direction?
Tall.
Okay.
Yeah, taller.
Just tall, but a little stocky. And he went up for it, and I'm just saying, and plus when I body slammed him, there was going to be a ref bump. I was going to turn him just enough so it would knock down the referee, and the referee wasn't right there, so I was saying, I don't know how long I can keep this dude up here, but no, they were gracious enough to make me look good. They let me sit in the corner while my partner got beaten down and made the hot tag, and I got to go in and pretend like I was all good and everything like that. And they even let me get the pin, God bless them. But the Caveman of Wellington, maybe a few people might recognize the reference right away. And that's because in the old El Santo movies, there was a cat by the name of K. Gordon Murray, who most people who recognize the name recognize him as a film producer. And he did produce a few films in the late 60s and early 70s, but what he is best known for is taking Mexican and German films, mostly children's films, and dubbing them into English. And anybody who is my age or older who watched late-night horror movies will remember he was the guy who translated 2 of the El Santo movies into English flicks.
Wait, did he do the ones where it was like, in this corner, El Santo, in this corner, Samson, and in this corner,
that's the one.
The Challenger.
Yeah, the Challenger.
You're right. Okay.
Cavernario Galindo, for whatever reason, they called him Caveman Wellington. And I remember seeing that like 20 years ago and just thinking, that is the coolest. Yeah, I thought, I wish I was the one who got to dub these movies. It looked like it must have been a party just sitting around giving very bad English commentary to already campy movies made by Rene Cardonis. Mm-hmm. You know, the other masterpiece that this guy, K. Gordon Murray, is very well known for is he took a Mexican film called Santa Claus that was made.
Oh, okay.
You know of this one, right? This is a work of art. This is like his masterpiece. Anybody out there, you can get it off Amazon.com. You can get it off all sorts of campy film sites. You look for Santa Claus, look for the name either Rene Cardonis or K. Gordon Murray. Yeah, this was another work of Rene Cardonis in Mexico. It's this awesome, awesome flick where Santa Claus, his toy shop is in outer space. and it is so bitchin'. His reindeer are mechanical reindeers. They're not even real reindeer. And I'm not just saying they use mechanical reindeer. In the storyline, they're mechanical reindeer. And he has a wizard who performs all this magic for him, and he has a little kid named Pedro who's, wears a, big hat and poncho and stuff like that, and he looks through his telescope to see if the kids on Earth are being good. And there's this devil named Pitch who's sent to Earth to try to corrupt the kids so they can ruin Christmas for Santa.
It sounds scary.
It is scary. If you want to scare your kids into... I can't even think of any good reason to scare children, but if you want to scare children, just show them this movie. And the greatest part, it's narrated in English by K. Gordon Murray, and his voice is so over the top, it's like amazing. In fact, someday I think we should devote a huge portion of a Slam and Stan podcast just to K. Gordon Murray alone, because this cat was out there. I mean, he was way out there. I don't know if it's completed yet, but they are working on a documentary on him called The Wonderful World of K. Gordon Murray. Because at one point, he actually had the corner on the kiddie matinee market back, I believe, in the 60s. He was known for translating so many of these films and then grinding them out into the movie theaters. And by the time I was 10 or 11, a lot of these flicks that he had a hand in, like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, there are several Little Red Riding Hood, picks that he made mincemeat out of. I remember a lot of these making the rounds on Saturday morning TV. But, this is a guy who just sounds like, I don't know if he was fascinating, but what he did was fascinating. What he did with already schlocky cinema and making it twice as schlocky and making it even more watchable than it originally was. I mean, what he did is quite the accomplishment. And unfortunately, he passed away back in 1979 just as he was having a huge battle with the IRS. I guess he ran afoul of the IRS, and they seized all his, films, his whole library. And I guess he was right in the middle of a court case trying to, get back his wares, and just died suddenly of a heart attack in the middle of all that. But wow. It's a shame he wasn't around longer, because 79 was before they really got into the, the whole shtick of, people seeking out the people like the Barry Mahones or the Johnny Legends, all the really kitschy people, and, interviewing them and finding out what their, what was their motivation, what were they thinking. This guy, thank God somebody has the foresight to make a documentary on this man. In fact, if you go on Facebook and you type in K. Gordon Murray for the search, you'll see that there is a fan page to him that centers around the documentary that's been created. In fact, I do think Johnny Legend is one of the people interviewed for the documentary.
Oh, yes? Cool.
Yeah. So that's where I came up with the name Caveman Wellington, and I don't know what to say. I can never do Cavernario Galindo justice, so I would never use his name, but Caveman Wellington, the older I get, the more I can do a guy like K. Gordon Murray justice. And I'm sure there's so many more important things going on these days, huh?
In what? In the world or wrestling?
In the world.
Okay, in the world.
Yeah, I'm the most important thing that's going on in wrestling. Nah.
Those miners got rescued. That was far more interesting.
That was awesome. That was bitchin'.
Anything in TNA. I'm surprised nobody's done a gimmick with sooner or later somebody's going to do that as a gimmick for the miners.
A 33-man miners battle royal.
No, somebody's going to get trapped in a well or something. Well, wasn't there like a, what I was thinking about when they were showing that thing? I was thinking of Mike Davis. Remember that global gimmick he was doing?
Oh, when he was shot to the moon?
Yeah, when he was shot to the moon, I thought, man, if Global was around, they would have done something like that.
Wait, what? Shot to the moon?
Before they had the bungee match with Stephen Dane and Chaz Taylor, they did a test launch where they shot Mike Davis up into the air with a bungee cord, and he came back with what he said were bumper stickers from the different planets and the moon.
That is brilliant.
And then he had a moon rock, too, which he used as a foreign object.
Oh, that's bitchin'. I don't remember that.
That was one of the good things out of Global. You know,
I was going to say, why didn't they do more stuff like that? They would be on top today. There would be no WWE.
And he had a stuffed animal that he would put the moon rock into to hide it when he used it as a weapon.
I love it. Oh, God, you know what they should have done from there? They should have had that moon rock have radioactive powers that would bring the stuffed animal to life, and he would be a mini on next week's show.
They could just bring in a Lucha.
Yeah, Lucha, yes, would have the original blue monkey.
See, that's what TNA has to do. They can't, waste all their time with all this signing all these other guys, all these people.
Yeah, I even hate to ask this because I know everybody's asking this, but even I can't resist. I hear each week about TNA, and I just, is Dixie Carter that clueless that she doesn't realize that all this money's being pissed away?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Cut to the chase. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time thinking about that because I know everybody else and their brother is thinking about it, and it's just, I
think it summed it up. I read about when she did that You Shoot Live thing. She said that Vince Russo's great because he's an interesting character. That he's great as a TV writer or whatever, even though he's not on TV, because he's an interesting character.
Because he's an interesting character. Wow.
Or a divisive character. I don't know.
We got another caller, Kurt.
Who do we have here?
Good evening.
Kienes.
Good evening. Larry, how you guys doing?
Larry Park, how are you?
Larry Park.
The Southern California La Parka.
Yep.
How are you doing tonight, Larry?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I was actually for the first time in a long time. I was in a bench press contest. I did pretty well.
Oh, not too shabby. Where was this?
Oh, this was at work.
How did you fare?
Considering I was going up against guys who I believe are on the juice, I think I did pretty good.
Oh, they're part of the Welch Brigade again.
Yeah, and of course, the world can't get enough of Caveman Wellington.
That's right.
I told you earlier, I love that gimmick, man.
Oh, fun. Thank you. Did you hear earlier in the show me giving the whole spiel of where I came up with that gimmick?
Yeah, I caught the tail end of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, man, well, I had a blast doing it, and again, the people I worked with were a lot younger than I was, and they were very gracious to make me look good. God bless them.
And they did. The one match I do want to see, and I'm going to lobby for it again on air. I want to see Lucky Pierre versus Whiskey Fist McIntosh.
Oh, that would be so cool. Whiskey Fist McIntosh, one of the coolest gimmicks in indie wrestling today. Yep. I totally dig that guy, and Lucky Pierre must lock horns with him.
Absolutely.
He should wrestle him, too, once come to think of it. That's a pretty good promo, too.
That would be awesome.
Pretty good promo.
Yeah.
No, Whiskey had a pretty good promo. I was surprised.
Well, Lucky Pierre is way up for the idea. That would be great if we could pull that off. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Fredo, are you talking about the promo in the ring when he was making fun of Vision?
Yeah.
That was funny. That was funny. Yeah,
it was a little over the top, but, I mean, hey, it was great.
It was. It was funny, and one of my friends kind of found it distasteful when I explained it to him. He thought it was funny.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. If you're just there and you don't get it, it's like, okay, that's kind of being mean to Vision. But once they get along, so it's like, it's wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. And Vision was able to get his couple of minutes of glory in that match too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Also, we've made reference to the show last Friday night. Would love to delve into it a little more. It was really, really an awesome show. It was and for a lot of the wrestlers in the dressing room, it was a great reunion. It was the first time I had seen Kayam and Enigma de Oro in almost 2 years. I hadn't seen Kyle Haystacks in at least 10 years. so many people. It was just great getting back together, and seeing again.
Well, speaking of Kyle, he lost a lot of weight. He looks great.
He does. He looked really good. I had to do a double take when I saw him. He looks in very good spirits too. I am very guilty. I did not see anybody else's match except for the tag main event. Because I was just getting caught up with so many people I hadn't seen. Also made a lot of new friends that night. And even cooler to think it was just a really, really awesome get-together for a really good cause. And I hope Vision's being well taken care of, because that was the first time I had ever actually met this cat. And not only was he gracious enough to thank us all as a dressing room for helping, but I noticed at the end of the night he went up to every individual he could and thanked them. I mean, he seems like a really nice guy.
And we did help with his medical costs, so that's a good thing.
Awesome.
I mean,
I'm very, very happy to do that.
Yeah, and he still has some bills to pay, but at least we got to help him, and people are still helping him, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you to you, Larry. Thank you to Cincinnati Red, Logan X, Barry Cohen, and everybody else who spearheaded and just got the show moving. It's anybody who knows me knows I can say some pretty cynical stuff about the wrestling business, but it's times like this that just kind of make my spirit feel really good. I mentioned on my blog, I immediately had, when I was there in the dressing room, I had really good memories of back in 1977 when Superboy's father, El Moro, suddenly got liver cancer and was already in the final stages by the time he found out. I was blown away at just how quickly a few shows were thrown together, and just scores of wrestlers getting together just to help out a buddy. So just want to commend you guys on, just jumping through all the hoops you had to jump through to get the show going.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kurt, and I appreciate that. I thank all the people for being there, and, we're going to have another great show coming up, November 13th. We have the World Title Tournament coming up. That's
right. Got a lot of good people in the mix there, too.
Yeah, and the one thing that excites me, obviously, is T.J. Perkins. I remember him when he first started. When he was 15 years old, we helped him get his start in MPW.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
He's awesome. I just recently saw a match of his. I think it was in Evolve Wrestling, somewhere in the East Coast, where he's facing a Japanese wrestler, Munenori Sawa, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Great match. TJ is when I first saw this kid, I remember years ago, I told myself, kid's too skinny, too small to be in wrestling. I take back everything I said about him back then.
I first saw him on a PWG show, I would say about 3 years ago. And, it's funny, as I get older, rarely do I remember the actual match lineup, but I remember specific workers, and I remember seeing him, just seeing what a good worker he was, and like I was mentioning about Ryan Taylor earlier, what a good baby face he was in the match I saw.
Kurt, I think you saw him before that.
When did I see him before that?
I think you saw him before that, MPW. You went to MPW long before that.
Yeah, I went to MPW, but there were some shows I missed, so either that or again I was in the dressing room just bullshitting with everybody.
That's more likely.
He ruffled Jason Allgood, he ruffled Logan once, and then he ruffled Jack Bull. I remember that.
Yeah. I saw the one with Jack Bull. That's one.
Yeah,
Jason Allgood is another one I loved watching. He had a great look at him.
He did.
And last time I saw photos of him, he had this really cool-looking beard, and he would there's a gimmick right there. I mean, he had that baby face look when he was younger, but I don't know, he looks like some white Rasta man or something like that. Or like some sage or some wizard or something. Of course, you know me, I go right to the Johnny Legend style gimmicks.
Allgood looks a lot like the hobo if you think about it.
Yeah, he does.
That's true.
He does kind of look like a hobo. Of course, we're talking about the roof or the hobo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not a hobo, the hobo.
The hobo. Yeah, there's a difference between a hobo and the hobo. Very cool stuff. So is the entire evening the tournament?
We'll probably have a couple more matches also. Red will announce them very soon. The other participants, we got Ryan Taylor, as you mentioned. We also have Chris Cadillac, who you saw in the last match.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to think, who else do we have? We have Mario Banks, one of Tex Tunney's boys. Mario Banks we also have. Did I mention Brandon Parker? I don't think I did. But Brandon
no,
Parker,
but he's one I enjoy seeing. He's very good.
Oh, he's very good, very good. And we also have Bo Cooper, Tool, and a guy you haven't seen in 10 years, Crazy Kyle Hastings. One of the matches is going to be a three-way match. That's why there's 9 guys.
Very cool.
And we'll announce that a little later on, which one.
Very cool. That's going to be at Yankee Doodles in Simi Valley, November 13th. And always looking forward to an MPW show. Very cool stuff.
Now, who knows? Maybe Lucky Pierre versus Whiskey Fist.
That would be awesome.
For the world title? Nope. No world title?
No, maybe someday.
Yeah. Maybe there should be a title in a class all itself. Maybe if there's ever a K. Gordon Murray tribute belt or something like that.
Oh, yeah. That might work.
Or Spaceman Frank Hickey title.
Okay.
There are so many possibilities.
See Lars Anderson as a robot memorial cup.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh, Lars Anderson. You know, so many people remember the Monster in the LaBelle promotion in 1981, but so few that remember Lars Anderson was the Bionic Wrestler in 1976 in L.A. And, oh, man, I'll never forget. You know, one, they took the schlockiest gimmick they could, and they made it to the most boring gimmick, too. You know, they came out with Lars Anderson. He had a doctor with him. If I remember right, the doctor's name was something like Manfred Wilson, and he explained to Jeff Walton the whole science of bionics and how Lars Anderson's arm was trashed in a car wreck, but they were able to rebuild it, just like in the TV show, The $6 Million Man. And this doctor would sit at ringside and, like, poke at some computer, which, you know, knowing them was probably a calculator or some shit like that. And the entire match would just be Lars Anderson having an armbar on somebody. And the doctor would push the buttons, and he'd crank up the armbar whenever the button was pushed.
Wait, how is having an armbar on someone the whole match different from a regular Anderson match from that?
Exactly.
I guess in this match he worked harder. The other funny Lars Anderson story was in 1979, so it was 3 years later, he briefly came back under a hood as the Hangman. And I remember a friend and I were in San Bernardino one night, and I can't remember who he is working with. Somebody screamed, "Hey, Lars," and he actually turned his head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See, before you said that, I was going to say, well, if he was under a hood, how do you know that the Hangman wasn't Bruce Povance?
I still think that's one of my favorite episodes of Slammin' Stan. Seriously, my endorphins went through the roof. I was laughing after that show when we talked about the Hangman Bruce Povance. Oh,
yes,
my God.
Euthanizing cancer-stricken children with nooses.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord.
Which episode was that? Was that the 38th or the 39th episode?
I wrote it down. I can't remember.
I remember we nicknamed the episode You're Fucking Nuts because it covered all of the crazy people who got into the wrestling business.
Yeah, it should be on there then. It should be on on the Facebook page. It should be on there.
I think that is one of the most enjoyable. Oh, it's number 39, yes.
Yeah.
Number 39, because we talk about just all the crazy people we've encountered over the years. It goes from the Hangman Bruce Povance to to the false Bull Ramos who roamed Southern California in the early 90s, a guy who tried to pass himself off as Bull Ramos, and even after getting called out, he'd still put feelers out saying, "Hey, anybody want to book Bull Ramos for a show?"
And his wife thought he was the real Bull Ramos.
Yes, even after he was exposed, and when he passed away, she wrote a letter to the Wrestling Observer saying, my husband, lived by your newsletter, and it would be nice if you could do a story on him or something like that. But, that episode 39, everybody, look it up. It's worth going every way. I remember listening to it the next day at work, and it was the most fun I ever had listening to one of our own shows.
Did we talk about Big Daddy Bruno Beefcake at all? I can't remember.
I don't think we did. What's the story with that?
He's a guy, one of those guys who got a local newspaper written up about him.
Yeah, I think we did talk about that.
Oh, we did talk about him. Wait, there was someone, I'm trying to remember who we didn't talk about. Did we talk about him? I think we did. That he said he was Sting's tag team partner and went to New Japan, and he was Brutus Beefcake's, brother in WWF.
Oh, this is a different guy then. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember talking about that one.
We talked about somebody who appeared on the newspaper also, but I don't think it was this guy.
There was the fake Freebird who opened an Italian ice shop. I'm trying to remember how many of these I've read.
Wait, a fake Freebird who opened an Italian ice shop?
Yes, he was opening his Italian ice shop. And
what was his name?
And I can't remember. But he did, and the most recent one I think was the woman who said that she was in a ladder match at Madison Square Garden.
Psycho Sybil.
Yes, and she broke the ring when she fell from the cable snapping.
Oh, God.
And
then she had to retire.
What that, Larry?
No, I'm just saying there are people that will believe that.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people. Well, the funny thing is the Psycho Sybil was written up in some, local,
Montana, I think.
Montana, a local paper. And I actually wrote the lady who wrote the story and just sent her a well-worded letter saying, you do realize you're being taken in.
Yeah.
And she just wrote a letter back saying, wow, people sure do take wrestling too seriously.
Yeah, they did a follow-up article that was the same way. That it was basically, those silly wrestling fans.
Yeah, they take it too seriously, and I'm just like, oh, man.
Well, you're just trying to prove the point, the fact, check it out.
Oh, yeah, because on the paper's website, where the comments are, there was a lot of people just making making criticisms that were true, but they were just doing it in the usual message board moronic fashion, just, saying, hey, you stupid bitch, don't you know a real wrestler from a fake one and all that?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to write her something that was just well-worded and just explaining, why this is a sham. And she just, essentially wrote me off saying, well, what does it matter? And I think pretty much just not wanting to admit that she was taken in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh, I remember one from a few years ago. Remember it was reported that Corporal Kirshner died.
Yeah, because they called WWE, his family called WWE to tell them. And the weird thing was that WWE has a database of the wrestlers' real names and all that.
And as I remember, the story wound up being that this guy was a truck driver and just told his family that he used to wrestle as Corporal Kirshner.
Well, no, it was that the real Corporal Kirshner is a truck driver.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it backwards then. But as similar to the Bull Ramos story, apparently even after it was proven that Corporal Kirshner is alive and well, I think it was the false Corporal Kirshner's nephew just refused to believe that, his uncle wasn't the real Corporal Kirshner.
And I remember when it got posted on WWE.com, everyone was saying, I thought his real name was Michael Kirshner. But did they say it's Thomas Spear? Well, I guess they would know. I found the Bruno Beefcake article.
Oh, very cool.
It's Terry Petrell lived a dream over the past 13 years. This is from 2003. He made his way from the streets of Greensburg. This is Greensburg where? Pittsburgh area, I think. Okay. through 4 professional wrestling organizations. Night after night, he stepped into the wrestling ring to square off against the likes of Ric Flair, Steve Austin, Dusty Rhodes, and Bret Hart. At one point, he was on the verge of superstardom. That's all over now. Petrill, 33, has decided to retire. But he's quick to say that he enjoyed his experiences as much as anyone possibly could. I've had a great career. I've met a lot of good guys who in the ring with a lot of the great ones. After meeting Ric Flair at a Baltimore bar, he was invited to Ivan Koloff's Pro Wrestling Academy for a tryout. He spent 3 days there paying his dues on the mat. For 3 days, they beat the crap out of me, said the 5'9", 272-pound Petrill, who was trained by Nikita Koloff, Ronnie Garvin, and Wahoo McDaniel. It hurt and I was scared. It was 3 long days.
3 long days.
Petrill passed the
3 long days. I picture them withholding water from him and having him hostage.
He passed the test, though, and in 1990 moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to spend 8 months training in the NWA as the Russian Assassin. He was a masked wrestler who teamed with 2 other students to form the Russian Assassins. Later, Petrill removed his mask and painted his face, and the wild thing was born. He teamed up with Sting. His new persona was a hit with fans. It was pretty good, he said. They really took to me. It was a lot of fun because Sting was the big man on campus. Before leaving the NWA in 1990, he won the United States Tag Team title twice and did battle with the likes of Flair, Arn Anderson, Wahoo McDaniel, Lex Luger, Austin, and Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious.
Oh my God, was he the 5th horseman?
Sid Vicious killed. What?
Wasn't Wahoo already retired by that point?
He was doing indies, I guess, but...
Oh my, Larry, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
You want to promote a show that everybody will remember, that no hardcore fan will ever forget?
Uh-huh.
We'll call it Crazy Fest. We'll get every crazy person who ever claimed they were a pro wrestler or their offspring, and we'll have a show that has nothing but delusional people who claim they were a pro wrestler. We'll have Hangman Bruce Koblands versus this beefcake dude.
Yeah. No, dude, that reminds me of something. Speaking of which, you know who we could add to this show? This guy named, who claimed to be the nephew of Buddy Rogers. I saw him on...
Bobby Rogers?
Bobby Rogers.
Oh, no way.
And not just that, he claimed to be, at that time, this was like the mid-'90s, late '90s.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The WWF light heavyweight champion. He had a title belt with him on one of these talk shows. I remember, what show was it? I think it was the Jenny Jones show.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he claimed to be the WWF light heavyweight champion, and he was involved, and this is one of those weird topics where he was involved in a 3-way or something. Not a 3-way match, mind you.
I don't remember hearing that he actually had one of the real old WWF light heavyweight belts.
Well, he had a belt. I don't know which one it was.
I think I remember hearing that it was a real one for some reason, but might not.
Really? I don't know. Well, whatever it was, he falsely claimed he was the WWF light heavyweight champion, and I don't believe he was the nephew of Buddy Rogers. That I don't believe.
Yeah, no. You could write a book on people who claim to be related to wrestlers or just people who claimed they were a big-time wrestler. I mean, it's just an ongoing... it's just something I think that's happened since the beginning of time. I mean, I remember in 1994, my father-in-law handing me the paper and saying, "Oh, my God, look, Gorgeous George died."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, "Dad, yeah, Gorgeous George passed away when I was a baby, man." And it was that guy, George Arena, who briefly wrestled for Jack Pfeffer under, probably, I don't know, Gorgeous George Jr. the third or something like that. But there was this long obituary in the paper where he claimed to invent the gimmick and, how another Gorgeous George stole it from him, yada, yada.
Jeez, yeah.
And I don't think anyone corrected it. I think Dave Meltzer.
That's the funniest part.
I wonder everyone could, and no one corrected it. Even Sports Illustrated, who he had written for.
That is astounding.
Amazing. Well, you know what's astounding?
And there's the other fake. Isn't there who's the other fake Gorgeous George? George Grant.
Yes, who turns into a preacher. And I'm sorry, you were about to say something, Larry?
Yeah, well, no, there's a fan whose name I'm not going to mention here in the local scene that tells people he's got $1 million contract from TNA.
Oh my Lord!
To do what?
Exactly my point. He believes his lies so much that he's convinced himself that he's got $1 million contract from TNA. I'm just not going to mention his name.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because
Mike Lano?
No, not Mike Lano. Huh? Yeah.
But there are a lot of people there. I mean, in fact, I think we touched upon this in that one episode of the You're Fucking Nuts episode. I think there are sometimes people actually do have themselves convinced they're in this other reality where they're starting to believe their own lies. You know,
I think it's Dan Farren. Dan Farren?
Oh, where is Dan?
He briefly appeared, but he's on his way to a comedy gig tonight. So.
Oh,
is it Dan Farren?
No,
Dan Farren.
I'll type you the name.
Dan Farren, if he said he had $1 million contract with TNA, you know it was a punchline for one of his comedy shows.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'll type you the name later.
Okay, I'll be curious to hear off the record. There was one that I was curious. I don't know if anybody even remembers this because it just got a little bit of mention in the Observer a few years ago. But I remember there was a news story somewhere about an ex-wrestler who was Cowboy Ken Thompson, who, according to this article, used to main event against the likes of Greg the Hammer Valentine and is now, I guess, a preacher. Surprise, surprise.
Of course.
And the first thing I thought of was I actually did know a Cowboy Ken Thompson when I first started wrestling here in Southern California back in '83. And I have always wondered if it was him. And I thought, okay, as to the best of my knowledge, the guy probably had 3, maybe 4 matches and then just disappeared. And the closest he probably ever got to wrestling Greg Valentine is maybe watching him on TV. I didn't even remember seeing him at live matches back then. And I've been curious ever since. I wish I followed up on that.
Oh, my God, I just found the article. This is amazing.
You found the article? No way.
Yes, from the New York Star Ledger on NewJersey.com.
Dick, you rock. You totally rock.
The Reverend Kenneth Thompson Sr. is very familiar with the Academy Award-winning film The Wrestler and its story about an aging wrestler's comeback to its attempt. At age 54, Thompson is attempting a comeback of his own in the world's wrestling entertainment industry. But his goal is to be in the ring in a year's time. Age doesn't mean anything, he said. I'm in good shape. I don't smoke, drink, or use drugs. It will be a jovial moment for me. If I get back in the ring, I will be for him.
That sounds like a caveman Wellington line. It will be a jovial moment for me.
It will be very jovial. Thompson, who wrestled professionally under the names Cowboy Thompson, Killer Thompson, Sergeant Thompson, and the Executioner Thompson.
Hey, he's trying to compete with me for the most gimmicks used.
Yeah.
I picked the Executioner. That's a pretty common.
Not the Executioner. The Executioner Thompson.
Executioner Thompson.
Wow.
He wants to get back in the ring and open a wrestling school of his own, as well as donate money to people in need in Hudson County. There are a lot of people who need help right now, a lot of layoffs. I can't save the world, but if I help one person, that's a lot. Currently lives in Hoboken. He was born in Hoboken and currently lives in Bayonne. Wrestling became a passion of his as a young boy watching it on television in the late 60s. He skipped high school wrestling and went pro at age 15. I just loved the chair throwing, yelling, and screaming. There were no papers or records back then, so you could get in at 15. Is that his excuse also for no one knowing who he is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were no records or anything, and plus, everybody's memory was erased by Yolanka the Space God, so none of them...
He worked the circuit, mostly wrestling mostly at local gyms in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Canada.
No, then I guess he's not the California one, because he probably would have claimed he was the America's champion.
Well, he's a reverend, though. He's a Reverend Cowboy Thompson, though. So.
That's right. I mean, how many Cowboy Thompsons are there?
Who became reverends, yes. He had a brief stint in World Wrestling Entertainment in 1981, where he wrestled former Minnesota Governor Jesse the Body Ventura before sticking to local fighting. Even though most...
he wrestled a jobber then.
That's right. That's like the most closest thing to a condemning statement that any of these folks have, thrown forth.
And then the next sentence is probably accurate, but not in the way they meant it. Even though most of his fights were in his own backyard, he portrayed the villain, a role he relished. People would even boo me on the street. I enjoyed it because it showed me I was doing my job. All I would do was smile and keep moving.
He forgot to say that they were booing him on the street because he was panhandling where it was illegal.
His most famous move during his prime was the, quote, Boston Crab, a move in which he would knock his opponents down flat on their stomach. He would then grab their legs and yank them backwards while sitting on their back. He retired in 2004 because, he says, he couldn't find any reliable promoters. Instead, focusing his attention as a minister at Pentecostal Church of God in Jersey City and electrician and gym attendant, at the Stephen Institute of Technology in Hoboken. But his love for wrestling would not die. I run 3 times a week and train 3 times a week in mixed martial arts, trying to get in shape and work on new techniques. He goes to the Universal Warrior Martial Arts Federation of America Club in Bayonne to get his body back in wrestling shape. He's lost 20 pounds and taken personal training courses to make sure he eats the right food. His ultimate goal is to be in the WWE once again, but he has yet to find a new promoter. Hopefully within the next year I will be in the ring. I'm still training. If there's an organization that wants to work with me, that would be great. It could be any promoter as long as they have a legit business. Asked if he would resume his role as the bad guy, Cowboy Thompson replied, "It's time for me the good guy, a superhero. I want to be an example for people to follow."
I picture the martial arts school he goes to being like that one that was featured in Napoleon Dynamite,
Oh, I was just thinking of that.
Oh, wait a second. This was like a syndicated story. It showed up in other places, too, like the India Times and stuff.
It's amazing. Here's another challenge, in addition to promoting the You're Fucking Crazy festival, we should all try to plant the most outlandish story about us being wrestlers and see which one of us gets picked up first by a paper.
Oh, my Lord.
But, you know what would be funny? TNA signed to one of them, Actually, like if Dixie Carter somehow actually believes this crap.
Well, I mean, she fell for Johnny Fairplay so fast.
I know, seriously.
Well, yeah, let's see. We need to get Fredo to pretend to be some sort of famous wrestler.
From Mexico.
Yeah.
That's right.
That way we won't know that none of the records exist.
You can be you're the original Santo.
No, I know. Since you're originally from Juarez, you can be Alfredo Guerrero.
Yeah, there you go. I could be
that would work.
The little brother.
The Los Guerrero brother.
Yeah, that's right. I'm Alfredo the Warrior Guerrero.
And when yes, in Mexico, you teamed with El Santo, Elio del Santo.
And I own the name.
Right.
I own the rights, the trademark to the camel clutch.
Yes, because your father invented it.
Yeah, so I actually own it now.
Yeah.
Now, I'm certain enough people have claimed to have been related to Roddy Piper, so I'll claim to be related to Jacques Reduc, the unknown champion from Scotland who wrestled for the LaBelle family for 3 weeks.
Oh, by the way, did any of you guys read that new article about Dale Gagner?
No.
Oh, what's that? Fredo, did you that story about Dale Gagner?
No, I haven't read that.
He's talking about now how he's a recovering alcoholic, and he came out as gay, and he's trying to get his life back in control, and he doesn't want to con people anymore. And then in the comments, there's stuff about how he stole like $1,000 from the sober house he was staying in, and
oh no way! Oh no!
Is this the Dale Gagne that you're talking? Dale Gagne?
The fake Gagne.
Yeah, right.
The AWA guy.
Yeah.
AWA guy.
Talks about showing up drunk at his deposition with WWE and stammering about how he had no way, about how he had no one, he couldn't find anyone to ask who really owned it, and then eventually getting him to admit that he didn't own the AWA trademarks, and now he's saying again that he did buy them out of bankruptcy court, and about how, this is the best part. He made, like, the recent, Dale Gagner era AWA World Heavyweight Champion, and I think even some of the regional champions or the TV champion or whatever had to pay $1,000 deposit on the belt.
Really?
Guess what happened next?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Wrestling's funny, I tell you.
It is totally. It is totally. Oh God, I'll never forget when I started wrestling for Johnny Legend and Incredibly Strange Wrestling in 1995. Somebody wrote this scathing letter to the Wrestling Observer saying how Johnny Legend is disgracing pro wrestling and how Incredibly Strange Wrestling tarnishes the wonderful image of pro wrestling. And I can't remember exactly what I wrote back. Like, yeah, Johnny Legend actually has the gall to pay us money to wrestle, which a lot of these so-called traditional, fly-by-night promoters are usually trying to figure ways to scam money out of the wrestlers.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. One of them's in Riverside. Oh, did I just say that? Inland Empire.
Someplace, somewhere.
Watch, he's gonna send me a Facebook message in 2 minutes. Just watch. He will.
That's right. In fact, as soon as we're off the show, we all have to go on Facebook. We're all going to go onto Larry Park's page. We're going to watch. We got to get betting odds for betting odds going on this one.
Yeah. I didn't mention him by name.
That's right. We will know this man as Mr. X.
Exactly.
So his real name is Ben Dover, and his address is 123 Southside Lane, and you can reach him between the hours of 2 and 4. I'm doing a terrible job of stealing an old Monty Python joke from years ago there.
That was pretty funny.
Why, thank you. Man, well, I'm jazzed that this turned into You're Fucking Nuts Part 2. I had a great time doing this.
Before we finish up, though, I want you to guess how much Psycho Sid will claim she was worth at the height of her career. What her net worth was.
Let me guess. I'm gonna don't ask me why. I'm gonna guess $1.2 million.
Oh no, much more.
Oh dear.
Fredo?
$2 million?
Mm-mm.
Oh God.
$5 million.
I'm gonna guess $10 million.
Mm-mm.
Whoa, more than that?
Yeah. $18.5 million.
What?
Oh my Lord! I bet Oprah Winfrey is shaking in her shoes, saying, "Oh my God, this woman's going to oust me as the most powerful woman in entertainment."
I wonder what was that at their peak? Who was the biggest money draw female wrestler, anyways?
Money draw? I would have to think. Well, it's not. I don't know. I mean, they might have had his. I don't know.
Well, Moolah never was the draw. I mean, she was on shows, but I doubt she was.
No, I know, but
wouldn't the answer be probably Chigusa Nagayo?
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Making money.
Chigusa Nagayo, one of the.
From Japan, right?
Yeah, the Crush Gals.
Yeah,
and
I remember her.
The beauty pair too. Before the Crush Gals,
and they weren't even close to $18.5 million.
Exactly.
What was I mean, not net worth, but I mean, what Austin's best year was like $10 million, something like that.
Steve Austin.
I remember Meltzer had a thing once of like the wrestlers who had the best years. I think it was like the top were like the best years for like Austin, Rock, Ogawa, and Hogan in WCW when he was getting his big percentage of the pay-per-view.
Man, I wish I knew somebody with WCW in the 90s, because I would have loved to have been one of those people like Lanny Poffo who got signed to a huge contract and was never used.
Was he getting paid like $1 million a year just to sit around and do nothing?
No, I think it was more conservative.
100,000, right?
Yeah, it was like 150,000, which is
$150,000
good money, but
to sit around and have nobody call you. That's a dream job for me.
He did have to accidentally have his hair fall out though when he.
Yeah.
But I grew back.
WCW would have been a great payday. I would have stuck around there back then. I don't know.
Oh,
why
a lot of
guys
people did. Yeah.
All these people complaining about it, man. Nowadays they don't make that much money.
I know. I would have collected the paycheck, and I just would have saved everything I could.
Yeah. I wouldn't have said, hey, I want out. I'm upset. I'm not getting pushed. I'd been, hey, yeah, that's fine. Just don't let the check bounce, and I'll be happy. Yeah, have me work WCW Saturday night every week, and that's it. That would have been great. Russell the Armstrongs, that's it.
Yeah. Honky Tonk Man has this great story about how, when he was in WCW, he wasn't on a contract, and there was this sheet where the non-contract guys would sign in at TV tapings, and then they'd get paid, and he realized no one ever checked the sheet. So after he quit, he had a guy sign the sheet for him, and he kept getting paid, and he gave the other guy like a percentage, but then someone ratted them out, and they changed
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny.
That's something we would have done, huh, Kurt? You would have done that, right, Kurt?
I would have. Yeah, if I thought I'd get away with it, I probably would have. And it was somebody I didn't like. Never do it to somebody I like, but.
Yeah, but WCW, I mean, there was a lot of stuff you could get away with that was just amazing. It's one of those, I mean, I know, and Alvarez wrote a really good book about their rise and fall, but it's amazing. It's almost one of these things that you could picture somebody reading it and saying, wait, was this nonfiction or did this really happen? But only in pro wrestling, my friends. Yeah.
Oh,
well, on that note...
Wait, just one thing before I just forgot about this while I was Googling, that someone had found that there was some picture of that Psycho Sybil was a wrestler in some form, and that there's a picture of her in some sort of match with the future China. But
yes, that is true. And it actually was established that she did actually go to Moolah's school, but she was booted out pretty quickly because she didn't have it. So, she actually did wrestle. It's just it was at county fairs as opposed to Madison Square Garden.
Yes, Garden.
Or something akin to county fairs. The kind of places I'm proud to wrestle. Yeah. I'd be ashamed. I would never, even if I could, I would never wrestle at Madison Square Garden because I know Johnny Legend would be disappointed in me and would never book me again. He said success is a sin, so, Well, anyway, I hate to break it up now, but, man, I've been having a blast and looking forward to being back with you cats in 2 weeks. And thank you, Larry, for joining us. Thank you, Dix, as always. Thanks for coming up with some awesome off-the-cuff stuff, Dix. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
And, as always, Fredo, thank you for engineering this show.
And don't forget Dan.
And, of course, Dan, who I hope is knocking him dead at the private gig tonight.
Fredo even talks a little more than usual.
Hopefully we'll hear back from Dan.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
I'm so proud of you.
So remember, folks, if you're walking through Southern California and you see a bright light shooting through the night sky, it is not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of money-making Moncel
powder.
Right on. See you babies in 2 weeks.